This webinar is going to encompass both the app and a little bit about using the portal to download the app and all that kind of stuff. Is there anyone in this group that's actually already installed one before using the app? Is anybody there with experience using the mobile app? I see everyone muted on the computer, but I can't tell if they're on the phone, so...
Yeah, I haven't installed one. That's what I'm trying to join this for, so I can actually do that.
That's what I figured, but I just wanted to find out because there are some people that have had some problems with the older versions of our app, and I want to let them know that most of those things have been resolved. There's just very few little bugs out there now. It pretty much works. There are a couple things you should know. Let's show you a couple things right away. And I hear a couple other people joining audio-wise. Rick, did you just join? And Lupe? Well, I can't tell who joined audio-wise, but it doesn't really matter. As long as you can hear me, then we'll go through. So one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to log into the installation portal as an installer. And I wanted to show you, if we scroll down, under quick actions, we have an Oasis little informational, and it says not applicable without a mobile device, and then a question mark. If you click on that question mark, it brings up a guide. So you can go to that, bring it up, print it out, whatever you need to do, and it's a step-by-step guide of how to use it. It was written by an engineer, so it may not be quite as in-depth as what you're used to, but it should give you a good overview. And it tells you some issues that we have found because there are so many different devices out there, different operating systems, and different version numbers of operating systems that we've uncovered some limitations to our mobile app. One of the first things I want to point out is on the left side of the screen and on the right is the mobile app issues at Hughes.com email address. Rather than try to give you a phone number where somebody might not be available, we're giving you an email address that goes to 6 or 7 people immediately, and then whoever is free first will answer the question or help you or assist you if it's a technical issue. They may choose to call you back, but we do it this way because a lot of us travel and do many other functions at Hughes, and we're not always available for a phone call. But we answer our email, even during meetings and other stuff, a lot easier. So that's a method at which if you have questions or you're having a problem, you can let us know, and then we can help you resolve your issue. Now, a couple other things. One of the most popular questions I get asked is they know it works for Android, but they're asking, does it work for iOS, for Apple? The question is, yes, as long as it's not the newest version, version 6.0. Apple made a change to their iOS app software where it no longer allows you to be connected to an unsecure wireless router to a modem that's not commissioned. So if the device cannot get out to the internet, it gives an error and won't go any further. It was an Apple callback issue. They make it so it calls back to Apple, and if it can't reach Apple, it just gives an error. That means it never establishes a full wireless connection to our modem, so therefore you can't use it for pointing and OVT. However, you can use it for the rest of the application, including pictures, line of sight, GPS, all that great stuff it works for. It just doesn't work for the actual pointing or the OVT functions where it talks to the IDU. So that is something you should be aware of. One of the things that you all should be aware of is Android version 2.35 or newer, or devices on 2.3.5 or newer have problems with working our application because they don't allow background usage of apps. They only allow one app to run at a time. The newer versions called Jelly Bean or Ice Cream Sandwich or any of the newer versions of Android software, they do allow it to work and will work fully. I'm using a Galaxy Tab 2 7-inch tablet, It was only $180 at Costco, so it's a pretty inexpensive tablet, and it works for 99% of the entire workflow. There's only one function it can't do, and that's it doesn't do barcode scanning very well. To do barcode scanning, you need an auto-focusing rear camera, and those typically are not on the tablets, they're only on the phones. So if you have a Google Nexus phone or a Samsung Galaxy 3 or one of those newer ones, most likely it will be able to do all the functions, including barcode scanning. I can show you an example today of it trying to do it and what the limitation is. Also on there, you do not need 3G to be able to use this app. Wi-Fi is plenty. All you need to do is sync before you go to the customer's house so you have today's data. And then when you're finished with the work order, you can either wait until you get back to the office that night or the next morning, or you can use the customer's Jupyter to sync because it uses very little data. Now, some other things you should be aware of. You need to make sure your GPS settings, location settings, are turned on so the GPS will be active, and it can automatically do your IVR for you. Also, be aware that the app itself only takes up 5 megabytes of space, and you only need less than 100 megabytes to do several work orders, so it's not a lot of data that it uses. Another thing to be aware of is special characters. Anything other than A to Z or 0 to 9 cannot be used in the notes field or it will hang the app. So please don't use parentheses, exclamation points, things like that, or ellipses or anything like that. Now, one more thing you should be aware of is that this workflow is really designed with Jupyter in mind. So and wow, we just jumped up in attendance. So here's what I want to tell you guys. What I've went over for the last few minutes while you guys are signing on is I went over the first page basically of the Hughes Oasis training document. I got to the document through the installation portal by logging into the portal, as you can see here, and then clicking on Oasis in the little question mark in the bottom right corner. Or not in bottom right, but in the middle of the screen where you see the help function and the little question mark. So when I brought that up, it launched a PDF. In the PDF, we were going over the first page. So for those of you that signed on late, please go and check that, and it goes through the most common things you need to know about what devices are compatible and what applications have certain features that need to be enabled. So what I was just about to refer to is Spaceway and Directway and Broadband Remote, which is DW and HN7000. They do not work for pointing through the app, but they do work for the workflow. So if you wish to just use it for taking your pictures, for all the other things you do on the workflow, it will work. It just cannot connect to the IDU because those older IDUs didn't know that we would have mobile software coming. Okay, I want to stop and ask if anybody has any questions so far. And I see a lot of people have joined. We have 14 people now. Welcome to the call. I'm taking a snapshot of who joined so I can share it with people later. And basically what we're going to do now is we're actually going to bring up the app, and we're going to bring it up on a Galaxy tablet. So this is a tablet here. If I was to go to a main screen on it, I'll show you what it looks like so you can see it's a tablet. There we go. This is the Galaxy Tab 2 7-inch screen. And you will see the Hughes Oasis app right here. Before I do that, I'm going to log in with Firefox. It's going to bring me, and I have the page already up for the installation portal, so I'm going to log into the portal. And I'm very bad at clicking sometimes. I have to click a couple times, but there we go, I got it. So there we logged in. You can see on the right I have several work orders ready to be installed. And I'm going to scroll down, and there we see the mobile Oasis app download. I can click on that, and then it offers me to download the app. So that's literally how you put it on your device. You do not go to an app store for iOS or for Android. All devices download their apps from our portal. They do not get them from the app store. At that point, you'd click download, and then you would install it. I've already got it installed, and I have a version we're beta testing that eliminates a syncing bug that we had last week with just people that had no work orders, and they were trying to sync no work orders. It would never stop syncing. This new version should be launched by Monday or Tuesday next week. So most of you will be able to download the current version that's there today and start work right away tomorrow using the new mobile app. But if you run into a syncing bug, then you'll need the new version. The good news is you do not need to uninstall the old version before you install the new one. It will write right over the old version. So now that I've showed you how to download the app, we're actually going to click on the app and start running it. So I'm going to put I'm actually going to click the button for Hughes Oasis, and there it launched it. And it will ask me to log in as an installer. I will actually need to disconnect it for 1 second to enter my password. And then you'll see it appear on the screen in 1 second here. So then I click login, and you will see it check network connectivity, and then it will automatically start syncing. You do this from your work or from your home or from your office. You do not do this at the customer site. Ignore the app version number. It knows that's not the official version yet. And then here on the screen, we see all the work orders. If you're on the phone and on the computer, I recommend you either turn down your speaker, because I'm hearing a lot of feedback through the phone. Okay, perfect. I think that went away. Or a little bit, I still hear it. Okay, so you have two choices. This is the list view. You also have the ability to click calendar and look at it as a calendar view. The calendar view will give you an hour-by-hour snapshot of the week. It is a little small, but it does support, oh no it doesn't, support pinch to zoom. And in this version, you can't turn it sideways, so I tried doing the landscape version. So this one may not be as helpful, but it is a visual representation of each day. So I'm going to go back to list view. That's a view I prefer because you can see more details.
Can I interrupt for a minute?
Go ahead.
Hey, tell me, because I've already downloaded all this app, but how does what? Get this thing to, how do you get it to actually work at our store? How do you get it to work on our computers at the store?
Okay, the dealer needs to assign the work orders to the installer, and then the installer brings up the app with them being specifically assigned the order, and then it will show up as long as it's scheduled within the next 7 days. So you have to do those two things for it to show up on their screen.
Because I feel like we're missing part of this, because I got this whole app thing, but I just want to know what are the girls in our office need to do to make it work.
They need to assign the work order by the installer ID number of the person that's going to do the installation, and then they need to choose a tentative date within the next 7 days for them to be able to see the order in the system.
So where do they do that at? When they're setting the account?
They do that from the installation portal, just like they schedule every install. You may not have embraced yet assigning it to an installer. That might be why you're not aware. Are you doing that yet or not yet?
Well, no, that's with our to get you on track here, but I don't know if the rest of these people that are listening to this webinar realize that they have to go through all this to make it work.
Well, but we wanted you to do that even without the app, so that's why I'm a little surprised. I understand if you weren't explained this before, then maybe you could benefit not only from using the app, but starting to use some of the other functions. One of the functions we launched in the installation portal at the beginning of, or the middle of last year, was the ability for you to assign an order to an installer, and then they can go in and literally log in and print out their own work order. You don't have to fax it to them. You don't have to email it to them. They actually can be assigned a work order now. That allows you to...
We're just a private dealer, and I'm the only technician.
Okay, so they need to assign it to you.
But I just don't know how to... so that's in the installation portal when the girls are setting that up in the office.
So let's do this. What we need to do is we need to have you either talk to myself or your distributor and show you offline how to have your girls set it up so that you are assigned a work order and how to set up the tentative date for scheduling.
So how do I get a hold of you to do that?
Well, you've got an email, so email me that and give me your phone number and I'll call you back. Or you can do it. Who's your distributor?
I've already downloaded this app on two iPads and an iPhone.
Okay.
Or not an iPhone, but an Android.
Okay.
And if I just knew if I could just get to that part where I could figure it out for myself.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm happy to do that. You just need to email me, request it, email it to me, and I'll be happy to call you back and we can work on that. Either that or you're also welcome to go through your distributor who also would be happy to help you in getting set up. Those are like the simplest dealer issues, but regardless of the app, they like you to embrace those things. So even without using the app, we'd like to help you get there.
So you're Chris.Erickson@Hughes.com.
That's one way you can email me, or you can do it through the mobile app issues@Hughes.com. Either way, whatever you prefer.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna hang up because I already got all this. The only part I need figuring out is how to make it work.
You mean work the app, or just how to get assigned the order?
How to get assigned the order.
Okay, then yeah, call me back at another time, and if you need to join one of these other webinars at a later time, we can do that. No problem.
Yeah, I'm not trying to shortchange you here, but I already figured most of that out.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, does anybody else have that same issue, that they're not aware of how to assign an order and how to set up your tentative schedule date? If anyone else needs help, please let me know.
What's your phone number?
Well, why don't you send me an email and I'll call you back. That's really a better way for me, because a lot of times people call me and they can't get a hold of me because I'm in training or webinars, and then they get mad because I don't return the call right away. I'd rather be able to call you when I have the ability.
Okay, I'll send you an email later on, and I'll get a hold of you in the next couple of days. We'll figure this out.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Okay, does anybody else have any other concerns that might be something related or anything else? Yes, sir.
I'm going to go.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Is there anybody else that I can answer any questions for before I continue? Okay then, so continuing along, basically we can see the scheduled date. The first two were my webinars at noon and 8 o'clock this morning, where we went through the entire process earlier, and it shows departure complete because I've already sent the order in for processing, so I get paid right away. So I'm going to walk you through that with a brand new install, and basically we can see the next 7 days worth of installs. So if I scroll up, you'll even see another couple more, or one more, and we can see the times. Also down here are notes, where we can see those are the same notes that are in the installation portal, and announcements. So there, even the sign-in for the webinar was posted today, so that's what's showing, but there's more things there, more things related to Oasis. So at that point, we're going to go ahead and start. We're going to pick an order. So I'm going to pick one of the orders there. And we can see the FSO information. So this includes the FSO, the SAN, the source of the sale or the installation, our PIN number, our name. It includes the phone number, our email. And the really neat thing is the phone number is a hyperlink that will actually dial your phone if you click on it. So if you're using a phone to do this function, an Android phone or an iPhone, you could literally click that link, and that would be your method to be able to make a phone call to the customer. Same goes with the email address. Those are both hot links. There's also a map icon down here you can click on, and it will actually show you their address and literally a map version of where they're located. So right here it said I was in Germantown, Maryland. Now that's where they created the order for. That's our headquarters. So it literally will focus in on the Hughes building. I actually am not there, but they set up this test account that way. So there it is. There's a Hughes building and where the address is and so forth. So it's pretty cool. Makes it easier to find the customer, and then if you need to zoom out, zoom in, whatever you need to do, you can do that to help you find it. I'm going to go back to the app now. This is the same functionality that's built into the installation portal. Now if I continue to scroll down, I'll get the dealer information and phone number, the order type, whether it's an install or repair, who it was billable to, if it's residential or commercial, so forth, how it was paid for, whether it was a purchase or lease, and so forth. And then it gives me some service order notes on which satellite, what SAN is chosen, and which plan they're on. So it says transport name power 1000 free, so that's a particular test account we have. And then down at the bottom under bill of materials, of course, it tells me what I need to bring out to the customer's house. In this case, it's service only because it's a test account, but it would be a 0.74 Jupiter 1 watt with a 24-month commitment. So at this point, we have the FSO details. You notice there's nothing for me to do, so I'm going to go ahead and click Next. And at this point, it's going to take me to the arrival screen. So now it says arrival pending. So at this point, we'd hit arrival on site. We could type any notes if we needed to. When I hit arrival on site and then submit, it's going to turn on the GPS and make sure that it's got my reading for where I'm going to install the dish. So I need to take this reading where I'm installing the dish. If it's more than 15 meters away, 45 feet, it will give us an error later on and not allow us to complete our Jupiter installation. This is a huge issue. You need the GPS accurate. If your device does not have a GPS, it's an older iPhone or an older Android or it's just a model that doesn't have it, you can type in the GPS manually. Here, we're within 45 feet of where we're installing the dish, so I hit submit. And you'll see it turn on my GPS. Down here, you'll see a little circle by the time showing it's pulling my GPS. And of course, the message box is checking GPS. And now I wait patiently for it to fill in the numbers. And we can see it's already doing that if you look at the yellow box underneath. So now it's checking its accuracy, 16 meters. It was 24 meters a second ago. It got all the way down to 12 meters. So that's within the 45 feet or 15 meter of accuracy. And that means we need to be awfully close to the dish because it's already only within 12 meters. So we don't want to be too far away from dish. We don't take it from the driveway. We walk over to where our line of sight is for the satellite, that we have good grounding and that we have a suitable location to run wires to the IDU, and that's where we run our GPS from. If you need to retake the GPS settings, you can hit the Capture GPS button. If the settings are okay, you can hit Next. Or if you need to override it and type in numbers, you can click on the numbers and manually enter them. In our case, our settings are good, so I'm going to hit Next in the upper right corner here. I'm very bad at clicking Next accurately. There you go. So now it says loading, and it's moving to the next section. You will see this is very easy, all menu driven. I absolutely love this app. I think the app works very well now. It has loaded our information for EchoStar 17, including the satellite location. The latitude and longitude was from the previous screen, and based on that latitude and longitude, it gives us our azimuth, elevation, our tilt angle, but it does not know our beam or out route yet. It actually needs to connect to the modem to determine that. The modem has the software built into it for it to do that. So at this point, we're done. When we see what we're able to see, we're now going to click Next. We could start assembling the dish and preset the azimuth, elevation, and tilt. The only thing we have left is to find out the polarizer, and the out route is more informational. So at this point, we'd click Next. And by the way, if I didn't explain it, this bottom row of icons down here, Home, Photos, there's a couple others, line of sight and so forth. Those are just quick buttons to go back to previous things or go forward if you want to do them. So now I have my line of sight up. Sorry, it'll freeze for 1 second. I accidentally hit a button that made it go back to main screen. But here we are in the middle of our line of sight. Whoops, I got to type in my password right now. There, now you guys all got my password. There we go. So we're going to now use a line of sight, make sure we can see the satellite. And of course, you'd be doing this outside. I'm only doing this for your informational purposes. I hit capture, and now I hit done, and it shows me the image. And now I can see that I had good line of sight, no trees in the way. And if I need to retake the photo, I can hit launch line of sight. At this point, we can go ahead and hit next because we got a good photo. And now it's going to take us to the next screen, which is what kind of mount have we chosen with the customer. So at this point, you'd walk around with the customer, let them know your options of where you can install it. Of course, you want to either choose a roof or sidewall mount as your default standard, and then a pole mount if no other options available. In our case, I actually am doing a pole mount, so I'm going to choose those because that's what I have here at my house. And then I'm going to hit done. And by the way, if you need to charge them extra for anything, such as more than 25 feet of trenching, or if you have to sell them a Wi-Fi router, which is a really good way to make extra money that Hughes is more than happy to have you offer the customer and support, you can put in your, whatever you charge and your tax rate if it applies to your state. And then at that point, you can then click a box, show to the customer the things that you've chosen and any additional charges, and of course have them sign now their name saying that they are okay with those charges. And then if they're not okay, there's a spot down here under Take Photo that they can write their signature on a piece of paper, and you can take a picture if they prefer not to do it on the phone or on the tablet. Then it asks for a spot for you to type in their name, or they can type it in, just to make sure that we've got their name if we can't read their handwriting and so forth. It is mandatory that you put in the name. And then at that point, you hit done, and then you hit done again, and now it saves that signature. And what you'll notice is on every signature is that it includes down here in the bottom corner, I know it's hard to see on this screen, I probably can't make it big enough. No, I can't. Not in this case. But it includes the SAN, the FSO. It includes the installer name and the date, the latitude and longitude, and then, of course, the person's typed out name that we just have them complete. So at this point, we could add any more additional charges if there are any. We, of course, do that before the signature. All extra charges are done before the signature and before you begin actually mounting the dish. Is there any questions so far?
Hey, Chris.
Yes, sir.
My Motorola Razr Max is a piece of crap, and the compass, internal compass, is about 9 degrees off.
Okay.
And it therefore messes up the Dish Pointer Pro. Is that going to work with a line of sight device okay?
It depends if it's the app messing up or the device messing up. One thing people do to try to help reset those is do a figure 8 motion while it's using the GPS. Have you tried that already?
Yes, and but the best it can be is about 8 or 9 degrees off.
Then you'll probably, I'm trying to think of the best way to solve that. What I would do is there's a spot there to add notes in the line of sight field, or you can just do an installer notes. and put line of sight had to be modified by 8 degrees, picture doesn't reflect the actual thing, whichever you need to do to let us know.
Okay.
But I would definitely notate that so somebody doesn't think you're doing it wrong or incorrectly, that they'll understand then.
Right. Okay.
So I have heard other people say they've had a little bit of issues with their phones with GPS, but most of them seem to be working. But I've had one other person say that today, actually.
Yeah, it's the magnetometer in it.
Yep.
It's not accurate.
Yep. Yeah, these devices, when they make a device this fancy for only a couple $100, or I don't know what you paid, but whatever it is, they don't always work 100% perfect. But okay, so at this point you hit next, and it moves on to the barcode scanning. Now I happen to have a ridiculously big barcode from my Galaxy tablet when I bought it, and I'm going to use that to show you how it scans. Now, I've tried it with a HughesNet barcode, and I think those are printed a little too small for a non-focusing camera. Whoops, hold on, I just accidentally... I'm so used to my iPad that when I try to use an Android, I tend to mess up a lot, so I apologize. I keep hitting the sleep button. There we go, but I logged in, and now I'm going to find the barcode, and I'm going to try to see if we can store it here. As you can see, it's a little blurry here. Let's try a little more top-down here. Lighting is important, standing still is important, and by the way, that's a really large barcode for it to have problems with. But you can see even the text is kind of blurry. Yeah, it looks like it's not going to work. And this is a problem we've seen with tablets specifically because they don't have autofocusing cameras. Unless they're an iPhone or an iPad, the new iPad 3 is a very good focusing camera. Yeah, it's not working. So in that case, you could actually hit the back button, and on an Android there's a back button. So now we can hit a back button, and then we can go into antenna part number and literally type in the 15000, whatever it is. I'm always bad at remembering, so it's 150, which I'm probably doing the power supply. Let's do that one. 1503307 dash 0003. Whoop, too many. 3. Oh, and I'm missing my 1 before my 5, so apparently I'm not doing this very well. So you can type them in if you're not able to scan them. And I don't have the part numbers in front of me for all 3. I apologize. I even asked for them earlier because I just don't have boxes at home. They're all already shipped out for my next training class. But it'll warn you if you don't put them all in. And there's an advantage to putting them in. If you put in the antenna part number and the mount and the power supply, it'll use that information to fill it itself in where we ask for it later. So you might as well fill it in now, or else we're just going to ask later and you have to fill it in there. And that actually makes it so you don't have to pick the dish size later, you don't have to pick the wattage of the radio, all that kind of stuff. So now it says part number not captured. You want to continue. In my case, I'm hitting yes because I don't have those other part numbers for my test order. So I hit next, and now it's going to ask me to initiate an IDU connection. At this point, remember, when I first ran the app, the first thing it did was it synchronized my schedule with all of my actual work orders. Now, I then left the work order, left the place, went out to the customer's house, hit arrival on site, and it captured the GPS where the antenna location is. Well, now I would go and I would either, before I started, I would put the modem out and put a wireless router, and you would take your wireless router and you would set it to obtain IP address automatically from a modem. You would tell it to obtain your DNS information automatically. So basically, it's usually the default settings for the router anyway. Then you would take your wireless and set it to Hughes Oasis. Now, you don't have to choose that, but we find if you use the same consistent Hughes Oasis, and everyone does it, if we end up having to help you with support, we can do it better if we know common ground about the router. So we set the SSID to Hughes Oasis on the wireless router that we're using. Now that customer asks, can I turn around and sell that very router, the same one I used to do this? Absolutely. We don't care if it's that router or a different one. But when you do that, I would set up a wireless password for the customer or have them pick a password. that you can use if they're going to buy it from you, or use a common one, something you can remember very easily. A lot of customers, or a lot of installers use a customer's phone number as the password, at least initially, because then if they have to support the customer, they can do it easily. But I find that if somebody knows the customer personally, they might be able to figure that out. So it might be better to use something more generic. Regardless, once you do that, you actually need to go into your Android device or your iPhone. You need to click on your settings and go to Wi-Fi and select Hughes Oasis, or whatever you chose to set it up as. Now remember, the Jupiter modem is connected to the wireless router, and you need to wait till all the lights are on, the wireless light is indicating, and so forth. And then when you go back to the mobile app, you can click the Initiate IDU Connection, and now, instead of saying failed here, it will indicate success. There it did, connection to IDU successful, and now it tells us successful. You can see this is very easy. Once you have all this stuff set up, it just becomes so fast and easy to do everything. The app is all menu driven, the workflow is provided. You don't have to remember if you covered everything. It takes care of every step. Now I click next, now that I've made my connection to my IDU, and now it will fill in whether my polarizer needs to be changed. Now in the beginning, it's going to be incorrect. So right now, it's incorrect. I actually have to submit my parameters for it to repeat this back to me correctly. So you will see the pole and the beam might be wrong. Now in my case, I think it is coming up correct because I did this in my last training and it remembered it. Even though I thought I cleared out this modem. So let me double check. I want to make sure this modem's clear, but I believe it is. Oh, it'll take a second. I gotta log into another computer to do it that's on our wireless router. Does anybody need me to show them how the router settings, what they look like, or do you understand it well enough not to do that? Maybe I didn't ask that quite well. We'll have to wait and see here. Hold on. Okay, the good news is everything's working just like it's supposed to. Hold on a second. To make sure I canceled the last account so we could recreate a new one. Okay, here we go. So what I was going to look up here was, what was I looking up here? We got our left hand, we have our beam. Normally you would click Submit Install Parameters. At that point, once you do that, it says, do you want to start install? You hit yes. And then it fills in the beam information and the polarization. And you can see down below it says successful, and we can actually scroll that and see everything that's done to the modem. So you can see there it's pinging the terminal and it's successful. Now, if you want to, you can actually bring up the terminal right on your screen by clicking the terminal icon underneath Initiate Beam Override. So if you click there, it'll actually launch Firefox and actually go to 192.168.0.1 and bring you right to the very screen you would see on a laptop. Now, there's really no reason to do this unless there's something that you're more familiar with here and feel more comfortable, because you can do everything, including all the pointing, right from the app. There is not. The only reason we provide this is so that you can see where you are and compare it to what you're used to installing Jupiter. So now you'll see a pointing screen, because that's where we'd be after we submitted the parameters, and we can see the exact same azimuth, elevation, tilt angle, our beam selected, our out route ID, left-hand polarization. And then again, if we go back to the app, we'll see that it's the same data. All we have to do now is click Next, and we get a pointing screen. Now you might ask, well, why would I want to use this pointing screen instead of the one we just saw? Well, there's a really neat function built into the mobile app that it alone might be the reason why you want to use the mobile app. Just this one thing is so wonderful, it may be the only reason you see to use it, besides all the benefits I'm going to try to sell you on, such as the picture taking, the GPS automatically putting in your parameters, all that great stuff. But one of the great features is not only does it give you the SQF max, and the IDU max is a faster sample that sometimes generates a higher number. So really, this isn't that important between the two, but it gives them to you just to be more thorough, because it collects this so fast that sometimes the SQF it doesn't show. But this box that's empty, normally is filled in if your location of your IDU matches what it's supposed to be when the person sells it. It will fill it in with the OVT target. So during pointing, you actually can see if you're already exceeding OVT without needing to launch OVT. This is a wonderful feature. So if it said the target SQF was 115, we'd see we are at 117. We do our best job to peak it, tighten it down, and we know we'd pass OVT for the target SQF feature. So that's a wonderful example. I'm sorry mine doesn't do it, but when they created these orders, because they're test orders, they always have the Hughes address and zip code and all that. Now, a couple other features that make this very different than running from the laptop. You are welcome to click coarse tones, and you can hear the same thing your DAPT would sound. Can everybody hear that? I'm assuming yes. Then there's also another version that are thresholds. So if we were to exceed 118, it would actually speak to us and would, or I'm sorry, it doesn't speak. It uses a tone, but it lets us know we're exceeding the thresholds. That lets us know when we're peaking. Also, and that one's not doing anything because we've run it so long now, we're not going over 118. But another thing it can do is fine tones. These are very different. Fine tones only give 3 tones. One tone is even, which means we're not changing. One tone is peak, which means our signal is going up, continuously up. And then one is down, which is a lower, like almost like a bad beep sound, it's a very low tone. That would indicate that our signal is going down. So it's a way of doing it without having to know each tone. Then we have a third way, which is for it to tell us vocally, and by words, tell us our numbers vocally.
116.
So 3 different methods you're welcome to use, whatever you prefer. Now, I get asked all the time, does this replace ADAPT? It can, but it's not, you don't have to. If you prefer to use ADAPT and the app at the same time, you can. The DAPT is updated faster than the Wi-Fi signal, and the latency involved through Wi-Fi actually makes the app a little slower at pointing, but it's very little, not a big difference. But some people still prefer the DAPT. But I would use them hand in hand. I prefer both of them. Now, the good news is, if your DAPT breaks or you have a problem, this is a great way to continue even if your DAPT malfunction. And vice versa. If your phone went down, you could always pick up a DAPT and complete the install with your laptop. With battery life on phones the way they are, maybe this isn't the best method for you to do every install. That's up for you. If you have a day where you're running out of battery juice, then you might not be able to use the app. Of course, all of us have chargers in our car, right? So there's not too many reasons why we can't do it. But once you get done with the pointing, and you'll see I can scroll back and go to next, and it lets us know the out route was locked. We have a nice view. We can zoom in and out on the SQF if you prefer. Not sure quite why you would do that, but you could. Now we'll hit the next button. Did I click it right? I did. Okay. So now it comes up with pointing in progress, out route locked, and we have the choice of starting terminal activation, which is the ability for it to do ranging, then to do registration, and then for it also to do associating with network. And then after it does those, it'll give us links to OVT and terminal activation. Oh, I actually called that wrong. I apologize. So we're initiating registration at this point. So we click next. Oh, not next. I'm sorry. I actually went back. So if it goes forward, I'll just go back. It did. So I'll go back one because we went too far. So let's go back to register because I forgot to click the button. Hit initiate registration, and now you see below it'll say successful down here. Registration initiation successful, fully operational. It's going through the state codes it normally goes to get back to fully operational. And at this point we can, and the screen blanks out. That's a Android thing. That wasn't me. I didn't blank it out. So at this point we can now click next. once it says waiting for configuration. That's what we were waiting for. Now, if you remember, I'll show you an example. I'll show you an example really quick. Sorry about the picture. It'll come back in a second. Better come back in a second. Hold on one second. I went to show you something. Oh, I think it'll come up now. It just beeped at me. There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, just to show you where we are in the process, is I'm going to launch my camera. And I'm working on a laptop here. And whoops, I see that it's sideways for you. Hold on one second. Oh, it's really blurry though. Sorry, I can only do so much with the technology I got. Hopefully that you recognize the screen anyway. So at that point, I'm going to click the little eye, go to installation, go to install, and we can see exactly where we would be. And there we have our ranging completed, our registration was successful, it associated, and we have this little symbol in the waiting for configuration message and in progress. As you probably know from installing this, that this bottom line will continue to work in the background. There's nothing for you to do. So there's nothing for you to click on or wait for that to finish. You are automatically expected to go to on-site validation tool and complete OVT at this point. So I'm going to go back to the app. And remember, from the app, I could have launched the terminal and shown it to you that way as well. So there we're back to where we were. Again, it says waiting for configuration, the same message we got before on the laptop. And we know it's okay to hit next now, and the next step would be OVT. Because waiting for configuration won't finish until after the unit's been activated. So there we go. It says OVT at the top, a big O, and a checkbox. It shows waiting for configuration. It's already got the electronic serial number. It would have automatically filled in the part number of the antenna if we'd put it in, and it shows the mount type correctly. Now all we have to do is hit Open OVT, and here's another great reason to use the app. It automatically logs you into the installation portal. You don't have to do anything. So the installation portal is about to come up. Because this is a web page, I can turn it sideways to get a better view, and I'll change the setting there. So you can see it, launch the installer portal. You don't have to log in. It does it for you automatically. I'm going to make the screen a little bigger for you guys. So you can see OVT nice and big. I wish I could do that for you on the actual app, but it doesn't have that. This program doesn't allow it to be any bigger. There we go. It came up and shows the on-site validation tool. It filled in the SAN automatically, the service order automatically, the electronic serial number. It would have filled in the part number as well as knowing what size the antenna is. And now I'm able to hit Launch OVT. You can see how this actually automates a lot of stuff and fills it in for you and makes it easier. So now we wait just a second as it pulls up the antenna size and the pole type and all that, or mount type. Now remember, I didn't put in the antenna part number, so it's going to make me select which size antenna this is. So wait just a moment. And remember, this is doing this over the Jupiter system using a backdoor walled garden, so it's a little slower. It's not meant to be at Jupiter speed. This is through a very, very small data channel just used for configuration and things like that. It is not used for our high bandwidth, Jupiter connection. I know you guys would probably prefer if it was, but the way it works with the different servers, it's better to have it this way because it's a walled garden. It doesn't go over the internet. That's why we can't use a Jupiter that way. Now, I'll be honest, I've never seen it take this long, but here it comes. It's coming up. It's on my screen already. Okay, so now we select the antenna size, 0.74, which is what it is, and I'm going to zoom in to make sure I can select it. And then you'll notice all the information is already filled in at the top here, including the customer name, the installer name, install type, ID number, the SAN serial, adapter type, the latitude and longitude, all the beam, everything. So all I have to do is click proceed, and it starts running the OVT test. As you can see, it indicates processing. And you would already know it's going to pass unless there's one or two criteria that isn't SQF, because we already saw our target SQF because the mobile app presents that during pointing. But as you can see, we're passing all of our values. And I want to just make a quick note. I want to tell you, they've been working very hard trying to get OVT issues completed and out, and so that we're not experiencing them anymore. I heard there was one last patch they were doing to it that was expected to clean up that 1% that we're having an issue. Oh, across the board, 98% of our people are passing OVT every time. So there's only 1 or 2% that they said, I think it was 98% they said we're going through, 1 or 2% were having issues. I know they did a change last week, and they're doing another one this week that was supposed to clear it up for probably the majority of people, and then it'll just be isolated issues after that. Here where I live, and I know Stephen, I saw you're on the phone, Stephen Collins, we've talked about it at great length. I used to fail all the time. Now every time I've run it, I pass. So they obviously have made some changes, and that's the good news. We're continuing to investigate issues on a one-on-one basis, so if you have problems, please let us know. Now, you want to go through the feedback form on the installation portal is an excellent way to tell us what's going on. The mobile app site is not, unless it's specific to the mobile app, please don't send the issues to the mobile app issues at Hughes.com unless it's specific to the app, because a different team handles OVT and all that stuff. So anyway, you'll see on here all these different criteria and that we're all green and passing, and then of course it indicates at the bottom of this that our diagnosis is okay and to click sign off. Now if troubleshooting steps showed up in this box that would give a diagnosis to repoint or water in the feed horn or whatever the issue is, overheating or a bad cable or connector or whatever it has, you would then work on each issue, hit completed action, hit get current stats after you complete each action, force range if necessary to see if the values improve, and then go to the next step. And then once you've done all the steps and you fix the problem, then you will click sign off. Now in our case, we didn't have any problems, so we'll go ahead and click sign off here. And it asks us, what did we have to do to make this system work? If we didn't have to do anything, we click no problem. If we had to replace a radio, a feed horn, a connector, whatever, called into customer support and had them do something for you, please indicate what it is. And there's a requirement that you must fill in this box with something. So in our case, it really was no problem. But if I had to replace something, I'm going to tell them the circumstances here. If you don't fill it in, you're hurting yourself and other installers, because we use this data to track bad product and to find out where we're having problems. So please indicate any problems you have here and let us know so we can see, or do we have a bad batch of hardware? Well, if you don't tell us, then you're one less person reporting the problem. And we've seen a small drop in the amount of people reporting problems versus bad hardware coming back, and it makes us blind to what's going on. So therefore, we can't fix the problem. We don't understand how it's happening. So we need your feedback. So once you've done that, click sign off, and it will give you a sign off code. You don't even have to write it down. You can if you wish, just to be thorough. But all you have to do now is hit your button on your Android to go back to the mobile app. You will then see it on screen. And then you will click Retrieve Sign-Off Number. It automatically pulls your OVT sign-off number for you. Once it's filled it in, you hit Next. And by the way, ever since we left and synchronized at our office, we have not had internet. None of the app requires internet to work except to sync your work orders when you're at the office before you go out on your first install. If no other installs are added to you throughout the day, then you don't need to sync again until you want to, or you want to send in all the documents for payment. Now we're back to, or we're to an activation screen. This is terminal activation. So at this point, if we have any notes, we can type them in. Actually, I don't know if that box is active. It doesn't appear to be. Yeah, it doesn't appear to be. So we're going to just click, whoop, nope, there it came up. Oh, that the box is just, when you hit initiate activation, it tells you if it was successful or not. So we did, we activated. So I hit initiate activation and it changed. Let me make sure. But it shows terminal 1000 and terminal description success. So it already shows that it's already associated. I actually clicked it a second time, so ignore that. If we wanted to launch a terminal and see what it looks like, we can. But once it tells us success, we just hit next. At this point, it's going to go to our photos option. So now we're going to select each one under description. And there's the ground point photo. We hit done. We type in, we take the photo. It turns on the camera. We then take a picture of whatever is needed. So that would be the ground point I just took a picture of. We would save the ground point photo. And there it is. And then we hit use photo. And it actually stores that photo with your SAN, your FSO, the date, the installer ID number, and the latitude and longitude of the customer site. Now we can click take more photos and capture all 7 photos, or 8 depending on whether it's a pole mount. So now we're taking a picture of something else, which in this case we can fill in the description before or after, it doesn't matter which. Now we can go to description and we can choose, we did the weatherproofing of the connectors. Now we're going to hit done and then use photo. And you would do this for all 7 photos or 8 photos, depending on if it's pole mount. We actually already did 1, so we only need 6 or 7 photos because we already did the line of sight photo earlier. Now once we have all our photos, we hit next. And by the way, even if it takes it with your 5 or 8 megapixel camera, it will automatically shrink them down to what's viewable online so that it doesn't use up your data plan to send photos if you wish it to. So now we are at the point where we're at customer acceptance. The next step would be you don't need to disconnect your Android from the wireless router. All you do is set it down, and now you go to the actual customer's computer. And I'm going to show that to you again with my camera. And we're going to pretend that my laptop here is the customer's computer, because it could be. All I have to do is connect it to my Wi-Fi router. And then there we see the customer's computer, and we go to 192.168.0.1, and I can make the screen a little bit bigger, I think. And now what you see on the screen is the same as what you normally would. We see the service activation link on the left. Of course, we know to go to system status before it shows up to make sure that we're up to date on our software. So we're going to go to system status, look at updating. As soon as it says up to date, usually that's when it shows the service activation link. Ours did it a little early. Let's see if I can hit F5 and see if it's already finished. These software downloads have been flying. They've been doing wonderful. I did a training class yesterday, 1.5 minutes, and our software was up to date. Hopefully you guys are seeing something similar, less than 3 to 4 minutes at the most. And it lets us know we're associated with the wall garden for service activation, and there it finished, up-to-date software status. So now on the customer's computer again, we're clicking service activation, and then the following steps, and there it launched another browser or another tab. Now the following steps are the same as what you're already doing today. I'll just go through one part of it, and then I'm going to stop because I don't really need to train you on what you already know, which is how to do service activation. But basically, it provides a subscriber agreement. You can print a friendly version for the customer if they wish. Once they've read through it, they can accept it. You can also, if you do the printer-friendly version, it opens up another window. You can copy and paste this or save it as a PDF, whatever's easiest, and then print it out at home or at your office, and then you can laminate it. And then when the customer, when you get to their house and do their site survey, you can present them with this and say, by the way, I want to give you the option of reading this at your convenience here. You have about an hour before I'll be to the point where I need you with the computer. And that way you don't have to read it while I'm sitting there waiting for 20 minutes. So once they've read through it, they can click I accept and continue on their computer. If they have any questions about the terms and agreement, there's a phone number to speak to a HughesNet agent. Oops, sorry, I'm not sure why the camera died there. So there we go, we're still in the agreement. So now they would be the ones to click I accept and then continue. And now it's going to come up and it's going to ask us to register, and then we would set up our email address, and then it's going to come up with the internet, and then it's going to ask us to download a status meter. So this is identical to what you're doing today. We just use a mobile app to get to all the way to the point where the customer interfaces with their computer. Now we go back to the mobile app. Once we've finished the entire service activation, which, as you know, only takes about 5 minutes. It's actually pretty quick now. We go back to the mobile app, and the mobile app is waiting for us to tell us, did they accept the subscriber agreement? You would click yes, if they agreed to it. Yes, they can browse, if you've got it to the browsing point. Then the installer helped them configure their email. You'd select yes. Then the HughesNet installation has been completed to their satisfaction. You'd ask them, is it completed to their satisfaction? You click yes or no and hit done. Then it comes up and says the system was installed and commissioned, but there's a problem, either their computer or networking issue that prevents browsing, and you'd select yes or no there. And then there's a place for the customer sign saying they agree to those things that were selected on that screen. So then the customer would then sign the screen, or you can take a picture of their signature, whatever you prefer. You then type in their name just like we did earlier, and then you hit done. Then it shows up at the bottom of the page with their signature. And now the last step, and there it is. And now the last step, of course, would be to hit next. And we now initiate our departure, which is actually IVR. And we tell it, do we have to come back tomorrow to finish something, or are we done? Just like you would on any other order than when you're doing IVR. We're going to hit departure complete because everything was done correctly. And then it asks, what machine was used to activate? Customers or installers? Now we know it's supposed to be the customers, but what if the customer's machine's not working and they tell you they want you to install it anyway? This would be the place to let us know. Then it asks, did you need a bucket truck to do the installation? Obviously, 99% of the time it'll be no. Did you have to use more than a 24-foot ladder? Or I'm sorry, more than a 28-foot or 28-foot extended ladder? The answer in this case, or most of the time, will be no. And then you click next. Then it lets me know that if I go any further, I will no longer be able to edit this FSO through the mobile app. It would be the same as submitting the order, basically. So I'm going to hit yes because I completed everything. And there it shows us a checklist that we completed every step. If we missed a step, we would have to go back to it and then make sure that it's finished. Now, if that's as far as you get, I can click home. And I'm done until I go back to the office and have Wi-Fi. Or, if I wish to, I can actually sync that now over the customer's Jupyter, and it hardly uses any of data. It's like 2 megabytes or maybe 3 megabytes, something small, very, very small. So I could go to Records, and I can see Not Uploaded, so I can click on the schedule name. There it is. And go down to the bottom and hit Submit Data. And it's actually submitting the entire work order, all the pictures and everything automatically. And you can do it either over the customer's Jupyter or wait. Now, if you're concerned for the customer, don't want them to worry about them using up any data, you can just wait till you get back to the office. But there might be an occasional time where not only would you upload that, but you'd go back to home and click the sync button in the bottom left corner. Well, actually, it automatically syncs if it checks Wi-Fi. If you go home and you automatically hit home and you're connected to Wi-Fi, it'll automatically sync. And if you do that at that customer's house, then if your dealers assign you any more work orders, they would automatically show up now. And maybe you had a couple hours in between orders before the scheduled time that you could do a repair or an upgrade. So if they added it, you'd want it right away. That's how you would get it. You'd use a customer's connection just to do a synchronization. Again, it's very low data. We would never suggest for you to do this if it would use up any significant amount of their actual fair access policy. And just to give you an example of this, I'm going to go to the home page. Actually, we can do it. We can do it the only way I can see we can do it easily would be just to bring up a browser. So we can go to systemcontrolcenter.com, or we can go to 192.168.0.1. Actually, I chose a hyperlink, but that's the pointy one. And actually, let me show you that. That was actually a good thing to show you. So if we go to the install screen, and I'll change the view here, you can see it completed everything now. And that's what it normally does after you complete service activation. But at this point, we can actually go to the terminal's main page, the System Control Center at 192.168.0.1 or www.systemcontrolcenter.com. And there we'll see the main page, and we can see, if I scroll up, we've only used 1 megabyte of their data plan so far. Now, I didn't take all the pictures, so it might use 2 meg, but that even included syncing our records. So it's working very well and using little data. Now I'm going to go back to the mobile app and ask, does anybody have any questions so far? I know I covered a lot. Hopefully you wrote down your questions if you had any along the way. But we can see now that all 3 work orders, including the new one we just did, are completed. Is there any questions? Anything I can answer? I see one here. Let's see if I can see it. I'm on the computer, don't have a mic, I can hear it good. Good. Okay, Jason, that's fine. Remember, if you guys have questions, you're welcome to email them to the mobile app issues even after now, so don't worry. Doug, I see your question. Is the application working now on iOS 6? The answer is it works on iOS 5 for everything. iOS 6, it works for everything except pointing and OVT as run through the app. You can still manually do it through a browser on iOS 6. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me think about that for a second. No, you cannot. I'm sorry. You can do the full workflow except the pointing and the OVT because Apple made a feature where it calls back to Apple when you connect to a Wi-Fi device. And if it can't get through to Apple, it gives an error and won't connect to that Wi-Fi. So therefore, if you have a Netgear, a D-Link, a Belkin, a Linksys router, and it's connected to a brand new modem that's never been commissioned before, it won't be able to call back to Apple and gives an error. Therefore, you can never establish that connection where Android will let you connect to something even if it doesn't have internet, and it doesn't try to call back so it doesn't give an error. This was a feature Apple uses for their own needs that does nothing for anyone else. There's no benefit to you that it does this, but it interferes with our app. If you can't connect over Wi-Fi, then you can't use the app. So that's the problem with iOS 6. It works fine for iOS 5 on both iPad and on iPhones, as long as it's like the last 3 versions, which basically is iOS 5.0, 5.1, 5.01, 5.111. All those versions work fine. It's iOS 6 that has issues, which of course includes the new iPhone and the new iPad mini. Those are all iOS 6. Even if you were to buy a brand new iPhone 4S, it would have iOS 6 preloaded. The only people that can use it on iOS are people that have an older version that never upgraded. Are there any other questions? I'd really like to know if this was beneficial, if it really helps you or not. I know the one guy had a question. I will answer his question. I don't see, the problem is I can't show you guys on the screen how to do it because I'm not a dealer and I don't have a dealer login that displays it the way you guys see it for scheduling an install and for assigning a work order to a dealer. So the fact he needs help with that is unfortunate for me because in my role at Hughes, I can't pull up a dealer version of what that looks like. So I apologize for that.
Chris.
Go ahead.
DishNet by HughesNet is not scheduled through the dealer website.
DishNet and HughesNet are completely separate in every way regarding installation. You don't do anything through the installer portal with DishNet. You don't run OVT.
Oasis is, Oasis is non-functional, right?
Say it again?
Oasis, therefore, would be non-functional.
Completely non-functional. Oasis doesn't work for anything for DishNet. DishNet did not want to, they wanted to do it their way, their systems, so they're going to have to come up with their own mobile app. You're welcome to use their tablet, however, but that would only be for HughesNet installs, not for DishNet.
Right.
Sad. One more reason to sell HughesNet.
Sad.
Well, yeah, I see both sides of it. I know why they did it. I know why they made those decisions, but yeah, they didn't want to do OVT either, and I would argue that there's a big value to OVT for you and for us. But that was their decision, and they have good reasons for why they want to do it the way they want. But at the end of the day, they are, they're not, they do their own service. It's their own plans, their own service, their own pricing, and everything.
Right.
Hey, was this beneficial to the guys that can hear me and respond back?
Yeah, it was very, very impressive.
Okay. I mean, you feel like you understand how the app works? Are you guys familiar with how to schedule it, like tentative schedule date, and how to assign it to an installer?
Yeah, we've always been doing that.
See, I figured most people would. I had a feeling his issue was very specific to him. I didn't think it was company-wide or, like everybody having that issue. I felt bad for not stopping everything and helping him, but my problem is I can't log in as a dealer, so I don't see it the way he sees it. I can only see it as an installer or a Hughes employee, and there's a million things on the screen as a Hughes employee that it's almost confusing. So I'd rather him see it either through a distributor or through I can one-on-one help him through some other kind of method. But if anybody else has that issue, though, where they don't know how to assign a work order, they don't know how to set up their tentative schedule date, which that one you have to know how to do. The schedule date's one everybody has to do, or you can't ever install. So once they figure those two out, then this app's easy. There's nothing to it. Are there any other questions, or does that answer pretty much everything?
Question.
Go ahead.
On downloading the app,
okay.
Can you use the browser on the Android to download the app, or do you have to connect to a desktop computer?
No, you use a browser. So you use a browser first to log into the installation portal. You go down to where the link is to download it. It then will open your browser and present you the file to click download file.
Right, but that's all done through the Android.
Yes, and then once you click download file, it'll install the app right then and there on your Android.
Right, so there's no need to connect to a desktop.
No need to connect to a computer. You do everything through the Android itself.
Rightio.
And
so if I have the old version, just update it, right?
And if you have an old version, it will write over the old version. If you ever have any problems, uninstall, clear your cache, and then try again. But as of the newest 2.0 version, it now overwrites the old one. And I got asked by RS9 today, they asked, well, I heard there were a lot of problems with photo uploads and taking the line-of-sight photo. As you can see, they fixed those. It works very well now.
Photo requirement is only required for fulfillment, correct?
I'll tell you right now, I'd get in the habit of doing it. It's I think those days are marked where eventually they're just going to require it everywhere.
Right.
One of the things that we're offering to the customer now is the ability to see their own photos now. They can actually go into myhughesnet.com and they can pull up all your notes and your photos. So make sure that you're speaking politically correct in our notes section because they can see it.
Right.
Okay,
what about
that includes the photos.
What about nighttime installations where you're taking a photo of line of sight?
Well, that's a very good point. I mean, there's going to be probably points where you can't take it very well. You'll just need to notate that you were unable to take an accurate line of sight photo due to a nighttime install.
Right, that's where all my installs are at. So,
I'm sure you could do things like grounding and all that with a flashlight, but I understand why line of sight wouldn't work.
Sure, right.
Yep. We're understandable. As long as you tell us what's going on, we're not going to give you a hard time if it makes sense. So just put that in the notes. I was unable to take line of sight due to, nighttime install.